Hi guys! Ever wonder what it actually felt like to survive winter in a time when central heating meant a pile of smoking logs and prayer? Before we start, likes and subscribes help me keep making these. Where are you listening from? Drop your city and time in the comments. I'm always reading them thinking, wait, people in California listen to history stories to sleep. Okay, tonight we are talking about how to survive a medieval winter without dying. But before we go anywhere, get cozy. Pillows good, blanket situation handled, perfect. Trust me on this one. So here's the thing. You're living in England, let's say around 1320, and it's November. Not the kind of November where you complain about needing a scarf. The kind where the cold starts creeping into your bones sometime around October and doesn't leave until April if you're lucky. You live in a small village, maybe 40 families total, tucked into a valley that gets about 6 hours of week daylight this time of year. Your house is made of timber, wattle and daub, which is a fancy way of saying sticks, mud and hope. The roof is thatch, the floor is dirt, and the walls let in drafts that feel personally aggressive. You wake up before dawn because that's just what happens when you go to bed at sunset. There's no alarm clock. There's a rooster, but he's frozen somewhere outside, probably questioning his life choices. You don't leap out of bed. You sort of peel yourself out from under a pile of wool blankets, a sheep's skin, and possibly a dog. The dog is warm. The dog is essential. You're wearing the same rough linen shift you slept in because, newsflash, you only own like 2 outfits, and you're not about to waste body heat changing clothes in the dark. The air in the room tastes like smoke and damp stone. Your breath comes out in clouds. You can hear your mother or your wife, depending on how old you are in this scenario, already moving around downstairs, scraping embers in the hearth back to life. Fire is everything. Fire is survival. Fire is the difference between making it to spring and becoming a very sad statistic. So you pull on your woolen tunic, your hose, medieval leggings basically, and a second tunic if you're lucky enough to own one. Layers. Always layers. Then you wrap yourself in a cloak that smells like wet sheep, because it is wet sheep technically, and you head downstairs into the only room in the house that will ever feel even remotely warm. The fire is crackling now, small and stubborn. Your family has been keeping this same fire alive since October, feeding it carefully, never letting it go completely out, because starting a fire from scratch in winter is a nightmare involving flint, steel, a lot of cursing, and numb fingers, so you protect the coals like they're gold. You probably value them more than gold, honestly, because gold doesn't keep your children from freezing. Breakfast is not a comforting situation. You're having pottage. Again, pottage is a kind of thick stew made from whatever didn't rot over the summer. Dried peas, beans, maybe some old barley, water, and a bit of salt if you're feeling fancy. It sits in an iron pot hung over the fire, simmering eternally, and you just keep adding to it. It tastes like warm, vaguely savoury mud. But it's hot. And in November, hot is the only seasoning that matters. You eat it with a wooden spoon from a wooden bowl, standing near the fire because sitting down means losing heat. Everyone in your family is doing the same thing. You're all huddled in this one room, breathing steam, smelling like smoke, wearing the same clothes you've worn for 3 days straight. Outside, the village is waking up slowly. You can hear the shuffle of animals being let out of their pens, pigs, goats, maybe a cow if your family is doing well. The animals spent the night inside the house, by the way. Not because you love them, though you might, but because their body heat helps keep everyone alive. Medieval life is deeply, intensely practical. Cows are furnaces. You're not wasting that. So yes, you sleep 20 feet away from a pig. You get used to the smell. You have to. Complaining about it doesn't make winter shorter. Your father, or the head of the household, is already outside checking the woodpile. This is a source of constant gnawing anxiety. Did you gather enough wood before the ground froze? Did you stack it right so it stays dry? Is someone going to steal it in the night? Yes. People steal firewood. It's worth stealing. Entire feuds have started over a missing log. You're not paranoid. You're realistic. So the woodpile gets checked every morning, mentally inventoried, worried over. If you run out of firewood in January, you're in serious trouble. You can't just go chop more. The forest is frozen, the ground is hard, your fingers don't work right in the cold, and every swing of the axe is agony. You finish your pottage and pull your cloak tighter. There's work to do. Always work. Winter doesn't mean rest. Winter means grinding, relentless maintenance of the tiny fragile systems keeping you alive. You step outside into the raw grey cold, and the wind hits you like a slap. The sky is low and colourless. The ground is frozen mud, hard as stone. Your boots, leather, probably falling apart, crunch on frost. Somewhere a cow lows. Smoke rises from every roof in the village. The world feels small. The world feels very, very cold. The first thing you do is check on the animals, because if they die, you die, and winter has a way of making that connection extremely clear. You walk across the yard to the small shed where the goats and chickens spent the night. Your fingers are already numb. You're not even surprised anymore. Numb fingers are just part of the weather report from November to March. You push open the wooden door, and a wave of animal warmth hits you. Straw, manure, feathers, breathing. It smells bad. It also smells like survival. The chickens are huddled together in a miserable feathery pile. Chickens, it turns out, are not designed for English winters. They look at you with the kind of resentment usually reserved for tax collectors. You scatter some grain barley you saved from the autumn harvest, and they peck at it weakly. Eggs are rare this time of year. Chickens don't lay much when they're cold and stressed, which, fair, you're cold and stressed too. But every egg you get is a minor miracle, a little packet of protein and fat that might make the difference between your youngest sibling staying healthy or getting sick. So you check the nesting boxes carefully, your hands shaking, hoping. Today there's one egg. One. You hold it like it's made of glass. The goats are doing better. Goats are scrappy. They're chewing on straw, giving you side-eye, generally unbothered by the existential dread of winter. You make sure they have water, which is its own problem, because water freezes. Constantly. You're always breaking ice, hauling fresh water from the well, trying to keep everyone hydrated. Dehydration kills people in winter just as fast as cold does, but no one thinks about it because you're surrounded by ice and snow. Ironic, really. You give the goats some more straw, check that their shelter isn't leaking, thatch roofs fail. It's a whole thing, and then you head back out into the cold. Your father is talking to a neighbour by the fence line. They're discussing firewood, probably, or food stores, or whether the miller is cheating people on flour again. Spoiler, the miller is definitely cheating people. It's basically his job. Medieval millers are universally distrusted, and for good reason, but you need flour so you tolerate it. The conversation is short. It's too cold to stand around chatting. Your father nods, the neighbour nods, and they both shuffle back toward their respective fires. This is medieval social life in winter. Brief. Practical. Everyone is too cold and too busy to waste time. You're sent to fetch water. This is a terrible job. The well is at the centre of the village, a 10-minute walk, and hauling a full bucket back without spilling it on the ice is an art form. You grab the wooden bucket and start walking. The village is quiet. A few people are outside. Someone's repairing a fence. Someone else is carrying firewood. A child is crying somewhere, thin and tired. Everyone moves slowly. Winter makes you slow. Your body is conserving energy, trying to stay warm, and every action feels like it takes twice as long as it should. The well is surrounded by other people, also hauling water, also silent. You lower the bucket, hear the splash, haul it back up. The rope is rough and frozen. Your hands burn. You lift the bucket and start the walk back, careful, stepping over icy ruts in the road. Water sloshes. You grit your teeth. If you spill it, you have to go back. No one wants to go back. By the time you get home, your shoulders ache and your hands are raw. You pour the water into a large clay pot near the fire, and immediately someone uses half of it to make more pottage. The cycle continues. Pottage is eternal. Pottage is inevitable. You're going to be eating it until April, so you might as well make peace with that now. Your mother is grinding barley with a hand quern, a stone tool that's been in the family for generations. Grinding grain is exhausting, repetitive work, and it's mostly done by women, which tells you a lot about how labour gets divided when everyone is just trying not to starve. She's been at it for an hour already. Her hands are scarred and strong. She doesn't complain. Complaining doesn't make the work go faster. You sit down next to her and take a turn grinding. The stone scrapes. The grain cracks. It's meditative in a grim sort of way. Outside, the sky is still grey. It's maybe 9 in the morning now, but the light hasn't changed. Winter light in medieval England is weak, pale, like the sun can't be bothered. You're going to get about 5 more hours of this dim twilight, and then it's dark again. No streetlights, no candles to waste, just darkness and cold, and the fire. So you do everything important during the day. You work fast, you prioritize. Your next job is to check the food stores. This is the most stressful part of winter. Your family has a small storage area, basically a shed, where you keep everything you manage to harvest and preserve before the cold hit. Sacks of barley and oats, dried peas, salted pork if you slaughtered a pig in the fall, maybe some hard cheese, a few wizened apples, root vegetables buried in sand, turnips, parsnips, carrots. You take stock. You do the math. You try to figure out if there's enough to last until spring. Spring is 5 months away, maybe 6. It depends on the weather, which you can't control, which is the most terrifying part. If you run out of food in February, you're in trouble. There's no store, there's no delivery. You can't just order more grain. The roads are frozen, trade stops. You're stuck with whatever you have. So people ration carefully. You eat less in winter. Everyone does. You get thinner. Your cheekbones get sharper. Children cry from hunger. Old people go to bed early to conserve energy. It's not a famine, not yet, but it's close. It's always close. You count the sacks again. You try to be optimistic. You fail. Your mother catches your expression and just shakes her head. "We'll manage," she says, which is medieval for we have no idea, but panicking doesn't help. So you close the shed and go back inside. The fire needs more wood. The fire always needs more wood. You grab a log from the dwindling indoor pile and add it carefully. Smoke curls up toward the roof, escaping through a hole in the thatch. There's no chimney. Chimneys are for rich people. You just have a hole. It works, mostly, except your house is constantly full of smoke. Your eyes sting. Your throat hurts. Everyone in the village has a cough that lasts from October to April. You don't think about it. It's just part of winter. You're breathing in your own survival. Around midday, your father announces that you're going to the forest to check the traps. This is both exciting and miserable. Exciting because meat, any meat, is a huge deal in winter. Miserable because it means walking a mile through frozen woods in hopes that maybe, possibly, something died for you overnight. You bundle up as much as you can. Another layer, a hood, strips of cloth wrapped around your hands because gloves haven't been invented yet. Not for people like you. You look like a walking pile of wool and desperation. The forest is silent in a way that feels unnatural. No birds, no insects, just bare trees and frozen ground and the crunch of your footsteps. Your father walks ahead, checking landmarks, counting trees. You have to know where your traps are. The forest all looks the same in winter, grey, skeletal, endless. Get lost out here and you're dead. Simple as that. So you pay attention. You memorize the crooked oak, the fallen log, the strange rock that looks like a sleeping bear. The first 2 traps are empty. This is disappointing but not surprising. Animals are scarce in winter. They're hiding, hibernating, or they've already been caught by someone else. Competition for game is fierce. Poaching is technically illegal. The forest belongs to the Lord, and hunting his deer can get you hanged. But people do it anyway, because starvation is also fatal. And at least poaching gives you a chance. You're not after deer though. Too risky. You're hoping for rabbits, squirrels, maybe a fox if you're incredibly lucky. Something small, something no one will miss. The third trap has a rabbit. Dead, frozen stiff but intact. Your father grins. You grin. This is a good day now. 1 rabbit will make a stew that feeds the family for 2 days if you're careful. You reset the trap, take the rabbit, and keep moving. There are 2 more traps to check. The 4th is empty. The 5th has been destroyed, probably by a fox or a badger, something desperate and clever enough to steal your catch. Your father curses quietly. You don't blame him. That's food, gone. That's survival, sabotaged by an animal that's also just trying to survive. The forest doesn't care about fairness. You start the walk back. The rabbit is tied to your father's belt, swinging stiffly. You're both colder now. Moving through the forest in winter drains your heat fast. Your toes are numb inside your boots. Your nose is running. You're pretty sure there's ice in your eyebrows. This is fine. This is normal. You're alive, you have a rabbit, and you'll be back at the fire soon. You focus on that, 1 foot in front of the other. The village smoke rises in the distance, almost there. When you get home, your mother takes the rabbit without ceremony and starts the process of turning it into food. She skins it quickly. The pelt will be dried and used for something, maybe a lining for a hat, maybe traded, and then she butchers it with a knife that's been sharpened so many times, it's practically a sliver of metal. Every part of the rabbit gets used. Meat in the pot, bones boiled for broth, organs eaten immediately because they spoil fast. Nothing is wasted. Waste is a concept for people who have extra. You do not have extra. The rabbit goes into the pottage pot. The smell changes. It's still pottage, but now it's pottage with substance, with fat, with something your body actually wants. You won't eat it until tonight. It needs to simmer for hours, breaking down, becoming tender. But knowing it's there makes the whole day feel different, lighter, less grim. You caught something. You provided. Winter didn't win today. The afternoon is spent doing repairs, because everything in medieval life is constantly falling apart. Your tunic has a tear. Your mother stitches it while there's still light, her needle moving fast, her thread made from linen she spun herself last spring. Sewing is endless. Clothes wear out. You can't just buy new ones. You patch, you mend, you reinforce, and when something is finally too destroyed to fix, you cut it up and use the scraps for something else. A rag, a bandage, padding for a shoe. Nothing dies its first death in a medieval household. Your father is working on the door. The leather hinges are cracking in the cold, and if the door stops closing properly, the heat escapes and everyone suffers. He's rubbing fat into the leather, trying to keep it supple, muttering about needing to replace the whole thing before next winter. Next winter. You're still in this winter, but that's how you survive. You're always thinking ahead, always planning, always worried about the next problem before the current one is even solved. Your younger brother is supposed to be carding wool, but he's 7 and he's bored, and he keeps stopping to stare at the fire. You don't blame him. There's nothing to do. No school, no toys, really. Children in winter mostly just exist near the fire, trying to stay warm, doing small tasks, waiting for spring. It's boring. It's so boring. But boredom is safe. Boredom means you're not dying, so you let him stare at the fire. Eventually your mother notices and gives him a stick and some string and tells him to practice knots. He does, half-heartedly. This is childhood in 1320. Knots and cold and pottage. You're sent to collect more firewood from the outdoor pile. This happens multiple times a day. The indoor pile is small, just enough to last the night, so you're constantly resupplying. You step outside and the cold hits you again, sharp and mean. The sun is already setting. It's maybe 3 in the afternoon. You hate winter. Everyone hates winter. But you don't talk about it because talking about it doesn't help. The woodpile is smaller than it was yesterday, obviously. That's how woodpiles work. But seeing it shrink is psychologically devastating. You're watching your survival margin decrease in real time. You load up your arms with logs, trying to carry as much as you can without dropping anything. The bark is rough and frozen. Splinters dig into your palms. You ignore them. You're always ignoring something: pain, cold, hunger, fear. Ignoring things is a survival skill. Back inside, you stack the wood neatly. Your father nods approval. Order matters. Chaos kills. If the firewood is messy, you can't tell how much you have left, and then you miscalculate, and then you run out at the wrong time, and then someone freezes. So you stack it neatly. You do everything neatly. Discipline is the difference between making it and not making it. The light is almost gone now. Your mother lights a rushlight, a reed soaked in fat, stuck in a holder, but it barely does anything. It's more psychological than practical. A tiny flame to prove that humans still have some control over the darkness. You eat dinner by firelight and rushlight, gathered close, bowls of rabbit pottage in your hands. It tastes incredible. Not because it's well seasoned or fancy, just because it's warm, and it has meat, and you're eating it together, and for this one moment, winter feels bearable. After dinner, no one moves far from the fire. This is the routine now. Every night until spring, you sit, you talk a little, but not much, because talking takes energy, and everyone is tired. Your mother is spinning wool by firelight, her hands moving automatically, muscle memory from decades of the same motion. The spindle twirls, the thread grows. She'll spin wool every night for months, creating thread that will eventually become cloth, that will eventually become clothing, that will eventually keep someone alive next winter. Everything is preparation, nothing is just for now. Your father is sharpening tools, a knife, an axe, a wooden spade that needs its edge scraped clean. Maintaining tools is critical. A dull axe means you can't chop wood efficiently. Can't chop wood means you freeze. So he sharpens, carefully, methodically, the whetstone scraping in rhythm with your mother's spindle. It's almost peaceful, almost. If you ignore the cold creeping in around the edges of the room, the darkness pressing against the walls, the awareness that this is your life until April. Your younger brother has fallen asleep sitting up, leaning against your mother. She doesn't move him. He's warm where he is. She just keeps spinning, one hand on the wool, letting him rest. Sleep is precious. Children need it. Adults need it too, but adults are always the last to take it. You're always staying up a little longer, checking one more thing, making sure the fire is banked properly, making sure the door is secure, making sure everyone else is settled first. You're mending a boot, the sole is separating from the leather upper, which is a disaster waiting to happen. Wet feet in winter means frostbite. Frostbite means losing toes. Losing toes means you can't walk properly. Can't walk means you can't work. Can't work means you're a burden. And burdens don't survive long in medieval villages. So you're stitching the boot back together with a leather thong, pulling it tight, trying to make it last another few months. Your fingers are clumsy in the dim light. You poke yourself with the awl. Blood wells up. You stick your finger in your mouth and keep working. Someone in the village is coughing. You can hear it through the walls, a wet, rattling sound that goes on and on. Winter cough. Everyone has it. Most people survive it. Some don't. The very old and the very young are vulnerable. You try not to think about it. You focus on your boot. Stitch, pull, stitch, pull. The leather is stiff and reluctant. You're bargaining with it, trying to convince it to hold together just a little longer. The fire is dying down. Your father adds another log, but carefully, not too much. You have to make it last through the night. The goal is to keep enough heat that no one freezes, but not so much that you waste wood. It's a calculation you make every single night. Too cold and you can't sleep. Too warm and you run out of fuel. There's a perfect middle point, and your father has been finding it for 30 years. He banks the coals, arranges the log and sits back. The fire settles into a low, steady burn. Your mother finishes her spinning and starts getting your brother ready for bed. This mostly involves wrapping him in more layers and carrying him to the sleeping area, which is just a platform at one end of the room, covered in straw and furs and wool blankets. Everyone sleeps together, the whole family in one pile, plus the dog, sharing body heat. Privacy is not a medieval concept, warmth is. You climb up to the sleeping platform and burrow into the pile of blankets. They smell like smoke and sheep and humans. It's not pleasant, but it's familiar. Familiar is comforting when everything else is hard. Your brother is already asleep, snoring softly. Your mother lies down next to him. Your father checks the door one more time, tests the latch, looks at the fire, and then climbs up too. The dog jumps up without asking and curls into a ball near your feet. No one objects. The dog is warm. You lie there in the dark, listening. The fire crackles. The wind picks up outside, rattling the shutters. Someone in the village is still coughing. The thatch roof creaks. These are the sounds of a medieval winter night. You're cold, even under the blankets. Your nose is cold. Your feet are cold. But you're not freezing. You're not dying. That's the bar. That's success. Sleep doesn't come immediately. It never does. You're too aware of everything. The cold, the dark, the fragility of the warmth you've managed to create. You think about the woodpile. You think about the food stores. You think about whether the chickens will make it to spring, whether your brother's cough is getting worse, whether the roof will hold if it snows hard. Medieval anxiety is extremely practical. You're not worried about abstract things. You're worried about whether you'll be alive in 3 months. But eventually exhaustion wins. Your body gives up. You drift off into a thin, restless sleep, the kind where you're never fully unconscious, always half aware of the cold and the sounds and the presence of your family around you. You dream, vaguely, about summer, green fields, warm sun, the taste of fresh bread. It's a nice dream. It doesn't last. You wake up in the middle of the night because you have to pee. This is the worst. You really, really don't want to get up. It's freezing. The fire has died down to embers. The air is sharp and hostile. But your bladder doesn't care about your comfort, so you drag yourself out of the blankets, immediately regretting every choice you've ever made. You climb down from the platform, your feet hitting the cold dirt floor, and you shuffle to the corner where there's a wooden bucket that serves as the communal chamber pot. You do your business as quickly as possible, shivering violently, and then you scramble back to the sleeping platform and burrow under the blankets like a hibernating animal. Your family hasn't moved. They're all still asleep, breathing in rhythm, a warm tangle of survival. You press yourself against your brother's back, stealing his heat, and gradually, slowly, you stop shivering. Your heart rate slows. You close your eyes. The wind howls outside. The village is dark and silent and cold. You're alive. You made it through another day. Morning will come. It always does. And when it does, you'll get up and check the fire, and eat more pottage, and haul more water, and chop more wood, and mend more clothes, and do it all over again. Because that's what winter is. a slow, grinding test of endurance. You don't win. You just survive long enough for it to end. And if you're lucky, if you're careful and disciplined, and the weather doesn't turn too brutal, and the food holds out, and no one gets seriously sick, you'll make it to spring. You'll see green again. You'll feel warm again. But that's months away. Right now it's just cold and dark and the middle of the night. So you sleep, you rest, you conserve your energy, because tomorrow winter will still be here, and you'll have to face it all over again. You wake up before dawn again, because your body has internalized the rhythm of survival and doesn't believe in sleeping late. The room is dark and cold and smells like 8 people and a dog breathing the same air all night. Your father is already up, crouched by the fire, blowing on the embers, coaxing them back to life. This is the most critical moment of every morning. If the fire went out completely overnight, you're in trouble. But the embers are still glowing, faint red in the darkness, and he adds kindling carefully. Dry twigs, bark, a handful of straw, and breathes life into them. A flame catches, then another. He adds a small log. The fire grows. You've survived another night. You lie there for another minute, postponing the inevitable, but eventually cold and responsibility win. You climb out of the blankets and pull on your outer tunic, the one that's slightly less disgusting than your inner layer. Your breath mists in front of your face. You can see it even in the dim firelight. Your mother is up now too, moving quietly so she doesn't wake your brother. He's still small enough that sleep is the best thing for him. Less energy wasted, less food needed. She lets him rest. Breakfast is pottage, obviously. The same pot from yesterday, still simmering eternally, with the rabbit now fully integrated into a thick, greyish stew. You eat it standing by the fire, burning your tongue because hot food is worth minor pain. The warmth spreads through your chest. Your fingers start to work properly again. This is as good as mornings get in January. Pottage, fire, family, the basics. Your father tells you that today you're going to the village common to collect dung. This is not glamorous. This is deeply unglamorous. But dung is essential. Dried cattle and sheep dung burns slow and steady, supplementing your firewood, stretching your supply. You need every fuel source you can get. So yes, you're going to spend your morning gathering frozen animal feces with your bare hands. Welcome to medieval life. It's exactly as romantic as the songs suggest. You grab a woven basket and head out into the grey pre-dawn. The common is a shared grazing area where the village animals spend their days when the weather permits, which in winter is almost never. But the dung is still there, frozen into the ground, waiting. Other villagers are already out there, bent over, prying up chunks of frozen manure with sticks and bare hands. Nobody talks. It's too cold and too early and too degrading. You all just work in silence, filling your baskets, competing quietly for the best pieces, the driest ones, the ones that will burn longest. Your hands go numb almost immediately. The dung is rock hard, frozen solid, and you have to really work to break it free. You use a flat stone as a wedge, hammering it with another rock, chipping away. It's exhausting. Your back hurts. Your fingers are beyond cold. They've moved into that strange, painful numbness where you can't tell if you're still holding things or not. But you keep going because stopping means going home empty-handed, and going home empty-handed means less fuel, and less fuel means suffering later. So you fill the basket, piece by piece, while the sky slowly lightens from black to dark grey. By the time you're done, the sun is technically up, though you wouldn't know it by the light. It's that weak, watery winter sun that seems apologetic about existing. You haul your basket back home, arms shaking, and dump the dung in a pile near the woodshed. Your mother will spread it out later to finish drying. It'll sit there for a week or two, and then it'll go into the fire, where it will burn with a distinctive smell that you've learned to associate with survival. Medieval heating is a full sensory experience, and not in a good way. Inside, your brother is awake now, coughing. That same wet cough everyone has. Your mother gives him a cup of warm water with a little honey dissolved in it, precious honey, saved from the autumn harvest, rationed carefully. Honey is medicine. Honey is rare. But he's coughing bad enough that she's worried, and worried mothers make calculated risks. He drinks it slowly, his small hands wrapped around the wooden cup, and the coughing subsides a little. Not gone, just quieter. You all pretend this is fine. You're all very good at pretending things are fine. Your father announces that he's going to the manor today to work off part of the labor obligation your family owes to the lord. This is feudalism in action. You don't own your land. You rent it, essentially, by working a certain number of days each year for the lord, ploughing his fields, repairing his buildings, whatever he needs. Even in winter there are obligations. Today it's hauling stone for a wall repair. It's brutal work in brutal weather, and your father will come home exhausted and frozen. But if you don't do it, you lose your land. So he goes. He wraps himself in his cloak, takes a piece of hard bread for the road, and walks out into the cold. You're left with the daily tasks. More water from the well, more wood from the pile, feeding the animals again, checking the thatch for leaks, because it snowed lightly last night, and snow has a way of finding every weak point in a roof. You climb up on a ladder, just a log with notches cut into it, and inspect the thatch. There's a thin spot near the edge. You pack it with more straw, pressing it tight, trying to seal it. Your hands are clumsy. The straw is brittle and frozen. It's not a great repair, but it's better than nothing. You climb down before you fall and break something important, like your neck. The rest of the morning is spent processing wool. Your mother cards it, combing it with wooden paddles that have metal teeth, straightening the fibers, and you hold the baskets, sorting the good from the bad. Wool is income. Wool is trade. In the spring, you'll sell or barter some of it for things you can't make yourself. Salt, iron, maybe some better tools. But that's the spring. Right now you're just sitting in a cold room, pulling bits of grass and dirt out of greasy sheep fleece, trying not to think about how boring this is. Your brother is playing with a small carved horse, one of the only toys in the house. Your father made it last winter, during a long snowstorm, when there was nothing else to do. It's rough, simple, but your brother loves it. He's making it gallop across the floor, whispering a story to himself. Knights, probably. Dragons. Things that are exciting and far away, and have nothing to do with frozen dung and leaking roofs. You don't interrupt him. Imagination is free. It's one of the few things winter can't take away. Lunch is bread and cheese, both going stale, both rationed. You get a piece the size of your palm. You eat it slowly, chewing thoroughly, making it last. Eating fast is a waste. Your stomach needs to register that it's getting food, and that takes time. So you chew, and you sit by the fire, and you listen to your mother hum tunelessly while she cards wool. It's almost meditative, almost peaceful. If you ignore the cold and the hunger and the constant low-level anxiety, it's actually kind of nice. The afternoon brings a visitor, which is unusual enough that everyone stops what they're doing. It's your neighbour, old Thomas, who lives 3 houses down with his wife and grown daughter. He's wrapped in a cloak that's more holes than fabric, and he's shivering even though he's only been outside for 2 minutes. He nods at your mother, stamps his feet near the door, and asks if your father is home. Your mother says no, he's at the manor. Thomas nods again, looks uncomfortable, and then asks if you have any extra grain to spare. Just a little. He'll pay it back in the spring, he promises. His voice is quiet. Ashamed. Your mother's face doesn't change, but you can see her doing the math in her head. Your stores. His need. The risk. The obligation of neighbourliness versus the obligation to keep your own family alive. It's an impossible calculation, and it happens all the time in winter. Finally she says she can spare half a sack of barley, but she needs it back by June. Thomas nods gratefully, almost bowing. He thanks her 3 times. Your mother goes to the storage shed and comes back with the grain. Thomas takes it like it's made of gold, because it is, essentially. It's life. He promises again to repay it, and then he's gone, back out into the cold. Your mother sits down heavily by the fire. She doesn't say anything. You don't either. You both just understood what happened. You gave away food you might need. But Thomas's family might starve without it. And if they starve, you have to live with that. You have to see his wife and daughter every day, knowing you could have helped and didn't. Medieval morality is intensely social. You can't escape your neighbours. You can't avoid their judgment or your own guilt. So you share, even when it hurts, even when it's dangerous. Because that's the deal. That's how tiny communities survive, barely, collectively, by making impossible choices and hoping they don't all die. You go back to processing wool. Your hands move automatically. Pull, sort, discard. Pull, sort, discard. Your mind is elsewhere, doing its own math. Half a sack of barley. How many days of food is that? 10? 15? What if you need it in March when everything else is gone? What if Thomas can't pay it back? What if his family takes the grain and still starves anyway, and then you're short and it was all for nothing? But you can't think like that. You can't let winter turn you into someone who hoards while neighbours suffer. That's how communities fracture. That's how everyone dies alone in their cold houses, sitting on piles of grain they were too afraid to share. So you trust. You hope. You make the gamble that kindness now will be repaid later, and that the village will survive together because no one can survive alone. It's not comforting. It's just necessary. Outside, the light is already fading. Winter days are so short they barely qualify as days. You get a few hours of grey dimness and then it's night again, pressing in from all sides. Your father comes home just before dark, moving like a man twice his age. The stone hauling destroyed him. His hands are cut and bleeding. His back is bent. He doesn't complain. He just sits by the fire and lets your mother wrap his hands in cloth strips soaked in grease. Medieval medicine is mostly just grease and hope. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You do it anyway because doing nothing feels worse. Dinner is the rabbit pottage again, now stretched with more barley and water because of what you gave to Thomas. It's thinner, less satisfying. No one mentions it. You eat in silence, listening to the wind pick up outside. It's going to be a cold night. You can feel it. The air has that brittle quality that means the temperature is dropping fast. Your father eats quickly and then goes to check the animals one more time before full dark. He's worried about the chickens. They're not hardy. If it gets cold enough, they'll die overnight. Just freeze to death in their roost. It happens. You've lost chickens before. You'll probably lose chickens again. You help your mother clean up, which just means rinsing the bowls with a little water and stacking them. There's no soap. Soap is a sometimes thing, made from ash and fat when you have extra fat, which is almost never. Mostly you just scrape the bowls clean and hope for the best. Medieval hygiene is a low bar. You're not trying to be clean. You're trying to be not sick. Those are different goals. Your brother is coughing again, harder this time. Your mother makes him more honey water using the last of the honey. She doesn't say it's the last, but you know. You saw the jar. It's empty now. No more honey until the bees make more, which won't happen until late spring. Your brother drinks it, coughs some more, and then curls up near the fire with his wooden horse. He looks small. Too small. Children are fragile in winter. You try not to think about it. Your father comes back in, shutting the door hard against the wind. He reports that the chickens are as secured as they can be, packed together in their roost with extra straw around them. It's all you can do. Now you just wait and see if they survive the night. He sits down and pulls off his boots, wincing. His feet are wrapped in cloth, and when he unwraps them, you can see blisters and raw skin. Boots are never quite the right fit. Leather is stiff. You just accept that your feet will hurt all winter. It's part of the deal. The family settles into the evening routine. Your mother spins, your father sharpens. You mend. The fire crackles. The dog sighs heavily and shifts position. Outside, the wind howls like something alive and angry. You can hear it rattling the shutters, seeking entry, looking for warmth to steal. But the house holds. The walls hold. The thatch holds. You're inside. You're together. For tonight, that's enough. Your brother falls asleep first, still sitting up, his head drooping forward. Your mother eases him onto the sleeping platform without waking him. She covers him with an extra blanket, one of the better ones, wool that's still mostly intact. She's prioritizing. Children first. Always children first. It's instinct and strategy combined. Children are the future. If they die, everything you're doing is pointless. So they get the best blankets, the most food, the warmth closest to the fire. You're tired too. The day was long and cold and filled with small, grinding tasks that never quite end. Your body aches in that deep, bone-level way that means you've been cold too long. You want to sleep. But first you have to make it through the next few hours, because going to bed too early means waking up in the middle of the night, freezing, with hours of darkness still to endure. So you stay up. You keep working on your mending. You try to stay warm. Your father tells a story while he works on the axe blade. It's a story you've heard before. Everyone has heard it before, but that doesn't matter. Stories are entertainment. Stories are free. Stories are how you pass the long winter nights when there's nothing else to do and nowhere else to go. It's about a farmer who outwits a fox trying to steal his chickens. It's not a complicated story. The farmer sets a trap. The fox falls for it. Everyone laughs at the fox. The end. But your father tells it well, adding little details, giving the fox a personality, making the farmer clever and resourceful. Your mother smiles while she spins. You smile too, even though you know exactly how it ends. The familiarity is comforting. In a world that's unpredictable and dangerous, a story you know is like a warm blanket. You sink into it. You let it distract you from the cold and the dark and the cough rattling in your brother's chest. When the story ends, there's a comfortable silence. Just the fire, the wind, the spinning wheel. Your father sets down the axe and stretches, his joints cracking audibly. He's not old, maybe 40, but 40 in medieval England is old. He's been working since he was 5. His body is worn down, his hands are scarred and twisted. His back doesn't straighten all the way anymore. This is what survival costs. This is what a life of labour looks like. You're going to look the same in 20 years, assuming you live that long. Your mother finishes her spinning and starts preparing the sleeping platform. She fluffs the straw. Not that it helps much, but it's something. She arranges the blankets in the order that makes the most sense. Heaviest on top, layers underneath, everyone positioned to share maximum body heat. It's a science she's perfected over decades. She knows exactly how to arrange 5 people and a dog for optimal warmth. It's not comfortable. Comfort is not the goal. Survival is the goal. Comfort is a luxury from a different life. You bank the fire with your father, learning by watching. He shows you how to position the logs so they'll burn slow, how to cover them partially with ash to control the heat, how to leave enough airflow that they don't go out completely but not so much that they burn too fast. It's delicate. It's crucial. Mess this up and you wake up freezing at 3 in the morning, trying to restart a fire from cold embers in the dark. He's teaching you because one day you'll have your own house, your own family, your own fires to maintain, assuming you survive, assuming you make it that far. The wind is screaming now, a constant roar that sounds almost like voices. Your father checks the door again, tests the shutters, makes sure everything is secure. Winter storms can tear roofs off, can collapse walls, can kill you while you sleep if you're unlucky or unprepared. But the house feels solid. The door holds. You've done what you can, now you just have to endure. You climb onto the sleeping platform and burrow into your designated spot, between your mother and the wall. The straw pokes through the fabric beneath you. You shift, trying to find a position that doesn't have a sharp stick jabbing your ribs. Eventually you give up. There's always a sharp stick. You just learn to sleep through it. Your mother lies down next to you, already half asleep, her breathing evening out. Your father is last, checking the fire one final time before joining the pile. The dog is already asleep, snoring softly, taking up more space than seems physically possible. The darkness is complete. No moonlight, no starlight. Just black and cold and wind. You lie there, wrapped in wool and animal skins, listening to your family breathe. Your brother coughs in his sleep. Your father's joints crack as he settles. Your mother murmurs something incomprehensible. The dog farts. This is intimacy in medieval life. No privacy, no personal space, just bodies and breath and survival. You think about Thomas and his family, 3 houses down. Are they warm enough? Did the grain help? Will they make it through the winter? You think about your own family's stores, now shorter by half a sack. You think about spring, still months away, impossibly distant. You think about whether the chickens survived the night. You won't know until morning. Everything is wait and see. Everything is uncertainty. But eventually, your thoughts slow. Your body relaxes despite the cold. The exhaustion of the day catches up with you, and you drift into sleep. That same thin medieval sleep where you're never fully unconscious, always aware of the cold and the dark and the fragility of everything. You dream again, vaguely. Warm bread, green grass, your brother laughing without coughing. Simple things, impossible things. Sometime in the night you wake to the sound of something breaking outside. A crack, a crash, maybe a tree branch snapping under ice, or maybe part of someone's roof collapsing. You lie there, listening, trying to determine if it's your problem or someone else's problem. The house seems intact, the roof is still above you. Your father hasn't moved, which means he's decided it's not an emergency. So you close your eyes and try to go back to sleep. The cold is worse now, deep in the night when the fire is lowest and the temperature drops hardest. You're shivering despite the blankets. You press closer to your mother, stealing her warmth. She shifts but doesn't wake. You tuck your hands under your arms, curl into a ball, and wait for morning. Just a few more hours. Just endure. That's all winter is, endurance stacked on endurance until the weather finally breaks. You don't know what time it is. You never know what time it is. Time is measured by light and dark, by tasks completed, by meals eaten. Clocks are for monasteries and rich people. You just know it's still night, still dark, still cold. So you lie there, shivering, listening to the wind, counting heartbeats, waiting for dawn. And eventually, finally, the darkness starts to thin. Not by much. Just a gradual shift from black to dark grey. Your father stirs first, always first, climbing over everyone to get to the fire. You hear him blowing on the embers, adding kindling, coaxing the flames back. The orange glow grows, the temperature rises slightly. Another night survived, another day beginning. You pull yourself out of sleep slowly, reluctantly, like something climbing out of deep water. Your body doesn't want to move, everything hurts. Your back from the hard platform, your shoulder from sleeping on it wrong, your feet from being cold all night. But you move anyway because staying in bed means losing precious warmth from the fire that's just getting started. You climb down, pull on your outer layers, and shuffle toward the heat like a pilgrim approaching a shrine. Your mother is already checking on your brother. He's still asleep, breathing rough and rattling, but breathing. That's what matters. She touches his forehead with the back of her hand, the medieval thermometer, checking for fever. She frowns slightly but doesn't say anything. Not good, but not catastrophic. He's holding steady. You'll take it. Your father announces that he's going to check the chickens. Everyone tenses slightly. This is the moment of truth. You all wait in silence while he pulls on his cloak and steps outside. The cold rushes in through the open door like a physical force. Then the door closes and you're left waiting. 30 seconds. A minute. He comes back in and his face tells you everything. 2 chickens dead. Frozen overnight despite the straw, despite your best efforts. He's carrying them, stiff as boards, their feet curled up like little frozen claws. Your mother takes them without comment and starts the process of plucking them immediately. Dead chickens are still food. You can't eat them fresh because they froze before you could bleed them properly, but you can boil them for broth, pick off what meat there is. Nothing is wasted. The feathers will be saved for pillow stuffing. The bones will be boiled until they're soft. The loss stings 2 fewer eggs in the spring, 2 fewer birds to breed, but at least their death provides something. At least it's not completely pointless. Breakfast is thin pottage with no rabbit left, just barley and water and salt. You eat it anyway, forcing it down, telling your stomach this is what you're getting, so it better make the best of it. Your brother wakes up, coughs for 5 straight minutes, and then asks for food in a small, hoarse voice. Your mother gives him a slightly larger portion than everyone else. Your father pretends not to notice. You pretend not to notice. This is how families work in winter. The weak get a little more, the strong endure a little less. You balance on the edge of survival together. The morning is spent processing the dead chickens and doing the usual tasks. Water from the well, you go this time, slipping on ice twice but managing not to spill the bucket. Small victories. Wood from the pile, which is noticeably smaller now, enough that you're starting to feel real anxiety about whether it'll last. Feeding the remaining chickens, who look depressed and resentful. Which again, fair. They're living in a frozen hell, you'd be resentful too. Your father decides to go check the village fish traps in the stream. This is optimistic, bordering on delusional. The stream is partially frozen, and fish don't exactly thrive in icy water, but it's something to do, and doing nothing drives people crazy in winter. So you go with him, the 2 of you walking through the village in silence, past other houses with smoke rising from their roofs, past the church with its stone walls that probably keep the priest warmer than anyone else in the village, past the mill that's quiet because there's no grain to grind in January. The stream is half frozen, exactly as expected. The fish traps' woven willow baskets weighted with stones are visible under the ice at the edges. Your father breaks the ice with a thick stick, smashing through the brittle surface, and hauls up the first trap. Empty. Of course. He resets it, moves to the second trap, also empty. The third trap has something, a tiny fish, barely worth the effort, but it's protein. He takes it. You move to the 4th trap and find it destroyed, torn apart by something. An otter maybe. Or just ice damage. Either way, it's useless now. You'll have to rebuild it when your fingers are functional again, which is not today. You walk back with 1 pathetic fish and 3 intact traps. Your father is philosophical about it. Better than nothing, he says, which is the medieval motto for pretty much everything. Better than nothing. Not good, not even okay, just marginally better than the worst possible outcome. You live your whole life in that narrow space between better than nothing and this might kill us. It's exhausting. Back home, your mother is boiling the chicken bones for broth. The house smells like wet feathers and poverty. The tiny fish gets added to the pot. Everything goes in the pot. The pot is eternal. The pot will outlive you. Archaeological digs centuries from now will find that pot and wonder what kind of people needed one pot to do literally everything. The answer is desperate people. Cold people. People who couldn't afford the luxury of specialized cookware. Your brother is sitting by the fire, wrapped in a blanket, playing with his wooden horse. He's making it jump over invisible obstacles, whispering encouragement to it. "Good boy," he tells the horse. "You can do it." It breaks your heart a little. He's so small, so vulnerable. Winter is especially cruel to children. They don't have the body mass to stay warm. They don't have the immune systems to fight off the constant sickness. They don't understand why they're always hungry, always cold, always tired. They just endure it because they don't have a choice. Your mother sits down next to him and starts teaching him a song. It's a simple work song, the kind you sing while grinding grain or spinning wool, something to make the time pass. He tries to follow along, his voice thin and raspy from the cough, stumbling over the words. She's patient. She repeats the lines. He tries again. It's not about the song really. It's about giving him something to do, something to focus on besides being cold and sick and bored. It's about maintaining some small piece of normalcy in a season that strips away everything comfortable and familiar. You're set to work carding more wool. This is your life now. Endless wool processing. Your hands move automatically, comb, pull, straighten, repeat. You could do this in your sleep. You probably have done this in your sleep. The wool is greasy and smells like lanolin and sheep sweat. It gets under your fingernails. It makes your hands itch. But it's necessary work, and necessary work doesn't have to be pleasant. It just has to get done. Your father is repairing the fish trap at the table, weaving new willow withes into the damaged frame. His fingers are stiff and clumsy from the cold, but he works steadily, methodically. He's been doing this since he was a boy. His father taught him. His grandfather taught his father. It's knowledge passed down through generations, practical skills for survival. How to weave a trap, how to bank a fire, how to tell if ice is safe to walk on, how to ration food through a long winter. None of it is written down. It's all just remembered, demonstrated, practiced until it becomes automatic. Midday brings another visitor, which is becoming a pattern that makes you slightly nervous. It's the village reeve, basically the Lord's representative, the guy who makes sure everyone is doing their required labor and paying their rents. He's not cruel exactly, but he's not your friend either. He's doing a job, and his job is extracting as much as possible from people who have almost nothing. He stands in your doorway letting in cold air and asks your father if he'll be available for ditch clearing work next week at the manor. It's not really a question. Your father says yes because saying no isn't an option. The reeve nods, marks something on a wooden tally stick, and moves on to the next house. Your father closes the door and leans against it for a moment, eyes closed. You can see him doing math in his head. Days of labor owed. Days needed for your own survival tasks. Food that won't get gathered or processed because he's working for someone else. The math never quite works out. You're always behind, always owing, always scrambling. That's feudalism. That's the system. You don't own your time. You don't own your labor. You own almost nothing except the obligation to keep working until you die. But complaining is pointless, so he doesn't. He just goes back to fixing the fish trap. You go back to carding wool. Your mother goes back to watching the broth pot. Life continues in its small grinding way. The fire crackles. The wind blows. Your brother coughs. These are the sounds of winter. These are the sounds of survival. Lunch is broth from the boiled chickens, thin and barely flavored, with some of the tiny fish meat floating in it. You get a piece of hard bread to dip. The bread is so stale it could be used as a weapon, but it softens in the broth and becomes edible. You eat slowly, making it last, because this is all you're getting until dinner. Your stomach protests. It wants more. It always wants more. You ignore it. Your stomach has been wrong about what's possible for months now. After lunch, your mother sends you to check on Thomas's family. Just a welfare check, she says, but really she wants to know if the grain is helping, if they're managing, if her gamble is paying off. So you walk 3 houses down, knock on their door and wait. Thomas's daughter answers, a girl about your age, thin and pale, with dark circles under her eyes. She says they're fine. The grain is helping. Her father is out working. Her mother is resting. She thanks you again for your family's kindness. You nod awkwardly and leave. On the way back, you pass the church. Father Benedict is outside, checking on the poor box, a wooden chest where people are supposed to leave donations for those in need. It's probably empty. It's always empty in winter because everyone is in need and no one has anything to donate. But he checks it anyway, hopeful or delusional, you're not sure which. He sees you and waves. You wave back. He's a decent man, as priests go. He doesn't preach too much about sin and damnation. He mostly just tries to keep people from killing each other and occasionally shares vegetables from the church garden. In medieval terms, that makes him practically a saint. Back home, the afternoon is dedicated to maintenance tasks that never end. Your mother is patching a hole in one of the blankets, her needle moving in tiny, precise stitches. The blanket is more patch than original fabric at this point, a quilt of repairs spanning years. But it's still warm, still functional. That's what matters. You help her by holding the fabric taut while she works, your fingers stiff and clumsy in the cold. Your brother has fallen asleep by the fire again, exhausted from the simple act of being awake. Sleep is healing, your mother says. Let him rest. So he lies there, curled up with the dog, both of them snoring softly, both of them warm. It's a peaceful image. Almost makes you forget you're in the middle of a survival situation that could go wrong at any moment. Your father announces he's going to take inventory of the food stores again. He does this every few days, compulsively, trying to calculate if there's enough, trying to plan, trying to control something in a situation where control is mostly an illusion. You go with him to the storage shed. He counts the sacks of grain, the dried peas, the remaining root vegetables. He's quiet while he counts, his lips moving silently. Then he just stands there, staring at the supplies, and you can practically see him trying to make the math work, trying to stretch 4 months of food across 5 months of winter. We'll be tight, he finally says, which is medieval for we might starve, but let's not panic yet. You nod. You don't know what else to do. You're 15 years old enough to understand the danger, not old enough to fix it. So you just stand there in the cold shed, looking at bags of grain, contemplating mortality. Back inside, you try to distract yourself with work. You're making a new rope from plant fibers, nettle stems that you processed last summer, dried and softened, and now ready to twist. It's tedious work. You twist the fibers, add more, twist again, slowly building a rope that might be useful for something. Tying things, hauling things, hanging yourself if winter gets too desperate. You push that thought away. Dark humor is common in winter, but you have to be careful not to let it turn into actual darkness. Your mother starts preparing dinner early because there's not much to prepare, and it gives her something to do. More pottage. Always pottage. She adds some of the boiled chicken meat, a few dried herbs she saved from summer, a bit of the precious salt. She's trying to make it taste like something, like food instead of just fuel. It's a small act of defiance against the grinding monotony of winter meals. You appreciate the effort even though you know it won't make much difference. The light is fading again, 4th day in a row of the same routine. Wake up cold, eat pottage, do tasks, eat pottage, do more tasks, go to bed cold, repeat until spring or death, whichever comes first. You're not even halfway through winter yet. You have months of this ahead of you. Months. The thought is so overwhelming you have to actively push it away and focus on just today, just this moment, just this task. That's the only way to survive psychologically. You can't think about the whole winter. You'll break. You just think about the next hour, the next task, the next meal. Dinner is served just as the last light disappears completely from the sky. The pottage is slightly better than lunch. The herbs help, and the chicken adds substance. But it's still fundamentally the same grey sludge you've been eating for 3 months. You eat it gratefully anyway because it's hot, and it fills your stomach, and those are victories. Your brother eats slowly, coughing between bites, but he finishes his portion. Your mother watches him like a hawk, monitoring every swallow, every breath, calculating whether he's getting better or worse. You can't tell. He's just sick, the same kind of sick everyone is in winter. After dinner, your father pulls out the tally stick, where he tracks everything. Days worked, debts owed, supplies remaining. He's carving a new notch for the grain you gave to Thomas, marking it as a debt to be repaid. Everything is recorded. Everything is tracked. In a world without writing, without currency that means anything to people this poor, tally sticks are the record system. Notches and marks that represent obligations, promises, survival strategies. He studies it for a long time, running his fingers over the marks, doing calculations in his head that you can't follow. Your mother has started teaching you a new skill, how to make rush lights. You gather the dried rushes that you harvested last summer, peel them carefully to expose the pith, and then dip them repeatedly in melted fat, saved carefully from cooking, every precious drop, until they're coated thick enough to burn. It's finicky work. Too much fat, and they drip. Too little, and they burn too fast. You have to get it exactly right. She shows you the technique, her hands sure and practiced. You try to copy her. Your first attempt is terrible. She doesn't criticize, she just shows you again. The wind outside has picked up into a full storm now. You can hear it screaming around the corners of the house, rattling everything, testing every weak point. Snow is hitting the walls in waves, making a soft, persistent sound like someone throwing sand. Your father checks the door for the third time today, making sure it's secured. The shutters are already fastened. There's nothing else to do but wait it out. Storms pass. They always pass. You just have to be patient and hope your house doesn't collapse in the meantime. Your brother is coughing harder now, long fits that leave him gasping and exhausted. Your mother holds him, rubbing his back, making soothing sounds that don't actually help, but at least show she's trying. There's no medicine. There's no doctor. Doctors are for rich people in cities. You have home remedies, steam from hot water, honey if you had any left, prayers if you're desperate. You're getting desperate. Your mother's face is tight with worry, the kind of worry that mothers carry silently, because showing it too much scares the children. Your father suggests moving your brother's sleeping spot closer to the fire tonight. Better warmth might help. So you rearrange the sleeping platform, shifting blankets and straw, creating a nest right next to the hearth where the heat is strongest. Your brother curls up there immediately, too tired to even play with his wooden horse. He just lies there, breathing in short, raspy gasps, his small chest working too hard. You try not to stare, you try not to imagine the worst, but winter is when the worst happens to children. You've seen it before. The neighbour's baby 2 years ago, your cousin's daughter the year before that. Winter takes the week. Winter doesn't negotiate. The evening stretches out, tense and worried. Nobody's working now. You're all just sitting by the fire, watching your brother, pretending to be casual about it. Your mother holds her spinning but doesn't spin. Your father holds his knife but doesn't sharpen. You hold your rope making but don't twist. You're all just waiting, collectively holding your breath, hoping his breathing doesn't get worse. The storm outside intensifies. You can hear things blowing around, branches, debris, maybe parts of someone's roof. The whole house shudders with each gust. The fire flickers and dances, disturbed by drafts that find their way through gaps you didn't know existed. Your father gets up and stuffs cloth into the worst of the gaps, trying to seal them. It helps a little, not much. The cold is relentless. The cold always finds a way in. Your mother starts praying quietly, not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet murmur of Latin she probably doesn't fully understand, learned by rote in church, repeated now in desperation. Your father joins her. You join them. The words wash over you. Pater Noster, Ave Maria, prayers for mercy and health and protection. You don't know if they help. Probably they don't, but they give you something to do besides sit there uselessly while your brother struggles to breathe. Hours pass. The storm continues. Your brother's breathing doesn't improve, but it doesn't get worse either. He's holding steady, which is the best you can hope for. Eventually, exhaustion wins over worry. Your mother lies down next to him, one hand on his chest, monitoring his breathing even in sleep. Your father banks the fire higher than usual, wasting wood but prioritizing warmth. You curl up on the other side of your brother, creating a barrier of body heat around him. The dog, sensing something is wrong, positions himself at your brother's feet. Animals know. They can tell when someone is sick, when the pack is threatened. The dog stays alert, ears up, watching. You're grateful for it. One more warm body, one more layer of protection against the cold that wants to take everything. Sleep comes in fragments. You drift off, wake up to check on your brother, drift off again. The storm screams outside. The fire crackles. Your brother breathes, rough and laboured but consistent. The night crawls forward. You're measuring time in heartbeats now, in breaths, in the slow rotation of the earth toward morning. Dawn feels impossibly far away, but it's coming. It always comes. You just have to last until then. Sometime deep in the night, your brother's breathing eases slightly. Not much, just enough that the rattle quiets a little. Your mother feels it too. You can tell by the way her hand relaxes on his chest. Small mercy, tiny improvement. You'll take it. You close your eyes and try to sleep for real this time, trusting that if things get worse, someone will wake you. Trusting that morning will come, trusting that your family will survive another night. The storm finally starts to die down around what you guess is maybe 4 in the morning. The wind drops from a scream to a howl to a moan. The house stops shuddering. The snow stops hitting the walls. In the relative quiet, you can hear the village, other families, other fires, other people also just trying to survive the night. You're not alone. Everyone is suffering together. Everyone is enduring together. It's not comforting exactly, but it's something. Shared misery is still shared. Morning comes grey and exhausted, like the night wore everyone out, including the sun. You wake to find your brother still asleep, breathing easier, the worst of the crisis apparently past. Your mother is already awake, sitting up, watching him with the kind of vigilance that only parents have, that ability to stay alert even in sleep, to monitor a sick child through sheer force of will. She looks at you and nods slightly. He's better. Not well, but better. You'll take better. Your father is already up, assessing storm damage. He comes back inside covered in snow, shaking it off like a wet dog, and reports that half the woodpile is buried. One of the shutters is hanging loose, and someone's chicken coop collapsed in the night. Not yours, thank God, but someone's. You can hear chickens making distressed noises somewhere in the village, and you know that family just lost whatever birds didn't get buried or crushed. Another small tragedy in a season full of them. Breakfast is delayed, because the first priority is digging out the woodpile. If you can't get to the wood, you can't keep the fire going, and if you can't keep the fire going, nothing else matters. So you and your father go out into the snow. It's knee-deep in places, crystalline and bitter cold, and start digging. Your hands go numb within minutes. The snow is heavy and wet, and gets inside your boots, inside your gloves, inside every layer of clothing. You dig anyway. This is survival. This is not optional. It takes an hour to clear enough snow that you can access the wood. Your fingers are beyond numb now, into that painful stage where they feel like they're burning and freezing simultaneously. You load your arms with logs and stumble back inside, where the fire has somehow stayed alive, your mother having fed it carefully while you were gone. You dump the wood by the hearth and stand there, shivering violently, while sensation slowly, agonizingly returns to your extremities. Your mother has made pottage, of course she has, but this morning she's also boiled some of the dried apples you've been saving. They're wrinkled and brown and not particularly appetizing, but they're sweet, or at least sweeter than anything else you've eaten in weeks. She gives one to your brother first, who's awake now, sitting up, looking pale but alive. He eats it slowly, savoring every bite. Then she distributes the rest, one each. You eat yours in tiny bites, making it last, letting the sweetness sit on your tongue. It's almost enough to make you forget you're freezing and exhausted, and living in a house that's slowly being buried by snow. The rest of the morning is spent on storm cleanup. The loose shutter needs to be secured before it tears off completely. Your father and you work together, him holding the shutter in place while you hammer in new pegs with a rock, because your actual hammer is somewhere buried in the snow. Your hands are shaking from cold and exhaustion. You miss the peg twice, hitting the shutter frame instead, but eventually you get it secured. Good enough. Nothing is perfect in winter. Good enough is the best you can do. By midday, the village has come back to life, people emerging from their houses to assess damage and help each other. The collective survival instinct kicks in. Thomas and his neighbor are helping the family whose chicken coop collapsed, trying to salvage what they can. Someone else is clearing the path to the well, because if people can't get water, everyone suffers. Your father joins them, taking a wooden shovel, moving snow in rhythmic, exhausted motions. You watch from the doorway, too cold to go back out yet, too guilty to stay inside for long. Your mother sends you to the church to see if Father Benedict needs help. The church, being stone, probably survived the storm better than most houses, but the priest is old and lives alone and might need assistance. You trudge through the snow, following the half-cleared path, your boots crunching on ice. The church door is heavy oak, and you have to push hard to get it open. Inside, it's somehow colder than outside. Stone holds cold like it holds heat, which is to say completely and mercilessly. Father Benedict is sweeping snow that blew in through a gap in the window shutters. He looks up when you enter, smiles wearily, and says he's fine but could use help moving some of the wood he stores in the church for the poorest families. So you help him, hauling logs from the storage area to the entrance where people can collect them. It's good wood too, better than what your family has. The church gets donations from wealthier parishioners in town. It's meant for people who are truly desperate, people who are literally about to freeze. Your family isn't there yet. You hope you never get there. While you work, Father Benedict asks about your brother. Word travels fast in a village of 40 families. You tell him your brother is better, and the priest nods, says he'll pray for continued recovery. You thank him. Prayer is free. Prayer is all most people can offer. Sometimes you wonder if it helps. Probably it doesn't, but it makes people feel like they're doing something, and feeling useful is important when you're powerless against the weather and disease and the slow grind of winter. You finish helping and head back home, but on the way you run into the neighbor whose chicken coop collapsed. She's standing in the snow, holding a dead chicken, crying quietly, not sobbing, just silent tears running down her wind-burned cheeks. You don't know what to say. There's nothing to say. She lost half her flock. That's eggs gone. That's meat gone. That's income gone. That's potentially the difference between surviving and not surviving. You touch her shoulder awkwardly and keep walking. What else can you do? Back home, your brother is playing with his wooden horse again, which is a good sign. Sick children who are getting worse don't play. They just lie there, fading. But he's moving, talking to the horse in a hoarse whisper, making it gallop across the blankets. Your mother is smiling, actually smiling, the first real smile you've seen in days. Your father comes in from snow clearing, exhausted but satisfied. The village paths are clear, the well is accessible, the collective work is done. Now everyone can retreat back into their individual survival struggles. Lunch is pottage with some salt pork added, a rare treat that your mother has decided to deploy because yesterday was scary and today deserves something better. The pork is tough and extremely salty, but it's meat, actual meat, and everyone eats it reverently. Your brother gets the biggest piece. No one objects. He's still recovering. He needs it most. That's how it works. The afternoon settles into an exhausted quiet. The storm passed. The immediate crisis with your brother has eased, and now everyone is just depleted. Surviving takes everything you have, and then asks for more. Your mother is mending again, always mending, working on a tear in your father's cloak that happened during the storm cleanup. Her fingers move slowly, mechanically. She's tired. Everyone is tired. Winter is a long, slow marathon of exhaustion that never quite ends. Your father is working on making new wooden pegs for various repairs around the house. He's carving them from a piece of scrap wood, his knife moving in practice strokes, creating small perfect cylinders that will hold shutters and doors and roof beams in place. It's meditative work, necessary work, work that can be done sitting by the fire, which is increasingly important because going outside is brutal and should be minimized whenever possible. You're back to processing wool because the wool never ends. There's always more wool. Wool is income, wool is clothing, wool is insulation, wool is everything. So you card it, endlessly, your hands moving through the greasy fibers, your mind wandering. You think about spring. You always think about spring. Everyone does. Spring is the light at the end of the tunnel, the promise that this will eventually end, that warmth and green and growth are real things that will return. You just have to last long enough to see them. Your brother has fallen asleep again, curled up by the fire with the dog. This is his routine now. Wake up, play a little, sleep, repeat. His body is using all its energy to heal, to fight off whatever infection is rattling in his chest. Sleep is good. Sleep is healing. Let him rest. Your mother covers him with an extra blanket, tucking it around his small shoulders, and goes back to her mending without comment. The light outside is already starting to fade even though it's barely mid-afternoon. Winter days are absurdly short. You get maybe 6 hours of weak daylight, and then 18 hours of darkness. It's depressing. It messes with your mind. People get strange in winter. Sad, angry, desperate. The darkness presses on you. The cold presses on you. The hunger presses on you. And eventually something has to give. Usually it's your mood. You become irritable, snappish, prone to staring at the fire and contemplating the futility of existence. Your mother starts preparing dinner early, probably because there's nothing else to do and cooking at least provides purpose. She's soaking dried peas for tomorrow's pottage. They need to soften overnight, and boiling more of the chicken bones to extract every last bit of nutrition. The pot bubbles away, filling the house with steam and the smell of weak broth. It's not appetizing, but it's familiar. Familiar is comforting. Morning comes with a surprise thin sunlight, actual sunlight, pale and cold but visible, breaking through the grey that's been constant for weeks. Your father notices it first, stopping mid-motion while building up the fire, and just stares at the light coming through the gaps in the shutters. Your mother sees it too and smiles. It doesn't mean anything really. One sunny day doesn't change the fact that it's still January, still freezing, still months from spring, but it feels like something. It feels like a promise that the sun still exists, that the world hasn't permanently shifted into endless grey twilight. Your brother wakes up on his own instead of being woken by coughing, which is another small victory. He sits up, looks at the light, and asks if it's spring yet. Your mother says no, not yet, but soon. Soon is a lie. Soon is months away. But it's a kind lie. The kind parents tell children to give them hope, to keep them going. Your brother accepts it without question because he's 7 and he trusts his mother. You wish you could still do that. Just trust that things will get better because someone you love says so. Breakfast is the pea pottage your mother started soaking yesterday. Peas are good. They have protein. They fill you up. They taste like something other than just grain and water. Everyone eats quietly, efficiently, focused on the food. Your father announces that he's going to the forest again to check traps and look for deadfall wood. The storm knocked down branches, maybe whole trees, and deadfall is fair game, not technically poaching because it's already dead. You volunteer to go with him, anything to get outside in the sunlight, even if it's freezing. The walk to the forest is brutal. The snow is deep and uneven, hiding obstacles, making every step an adventure in not falling. But the sun is out, weak and watery but present, and it makes everything look different. The snow sparkles, the bare tree branches cast shadows. It's almost beautiful, in a stark, frozen way. Your father doesn't comment on it, but you can see him looking around too, appreciating it silently. Beauty is free. Beauty doesn't make you warmer or less hungry, but it reminds you that the world is more than just survival. The first trap has a squirrel, frozen solid but intact. Your father grins. Actual protein, actual fat, something to add to the pot that will make a real difference. The second trap is empty. The third has been triggered, but whatever was in it escaped, leaving behind just a tuft of fur. The fourth trap is buried in snow and takes 10 minutes to dig out. It's empty too. You reset them all, your fingers clumsy and painful in the cold, and move on to look for deadfall. You find a good branch, thick as your arm, broken off cleanly in the storm. Your father tests it, dry enough to burn, not too rotten. You drag it back through the snow, taking turns, your shoulders burning with effort. Halfway back you find another branch, smaller but still useful. Now you're both dragging wood, breathing hard, sweating despite the cold. It's good work, productive work, work that will directly translate into warmth later. This is what success looks like in winter, dragging frozen tree branches through snow, because you found free fuel. Back home, your mother has somehow produced a small miracle. She traded some of your wool to a neighbor for a handful of dried mushrooms. Mushrooms are flavor, mushrooms are precious. She adds them to the pottage along with the squirrel, which she's already skinned and butchered. The house smells better than it has in weeks. Actual cooking smells, food smells. Your brother is sitting up, playing with his horse, looking better. The sun is still shining through the shutters. For one moment, one brief moment, things feel almost okay. Lunch is the mushroom and squirrel pottage, and it's genuinely good. Not just good for winter survival food, but actually tasty. The mushrooms add earthiness, the squirrel adds richness, the broth is thick and savory. You eat slowly, reverently, making it last. Your father has seconds, there's actually enough for seconds, and your mother doesn't stop him. Abundance is so rare that when it happens, you don't ration it, you enjoy it, you let yourself feel full, just this once. After lunch, the mood is almost festive. Your father is working on carving a new spoon. The old ones are wearing out, splitting, becoming unusable. He's using a piece of wood from the forest, carving it carefully, creating smooth curves. Your mother is spinning but humming while she does it, actually humming, a sound you haven't heard in weeks. You're helping your brother build a small fortress out of sticks and scraps of wood, something to play with, something to occupy his mind. He's directing the construction like a tiny general, telling you where each piece goes, completely absorbed. The sun stays out for most of the afternoon, a gift nobody expected. People are outside more than usual, taking advantage of the light, doing repairs that are easier when you can actually see. You can hear voices, the sound of hammering, someone laughing. The village feels alive in a way it hasn't since autumn. It won't last. Tomorrow will probably be grey again, but today is good. Today is light and sun and full bellies and hope. Your father finishes the spoon and presents it to your mother with mock ceremony, bowing like she's a noble lady. She laughs, actually laughs, and takes it, testing the weight, running her finger along the smooth edge. Beautiful, she says, and she means it. It's just a wooden spoon, but it's well made and useful and represents hours of careful work. In medieval life, that's love. That's how you show affection. You make things, you provide, you carve spoons by firelight and present them like they're treasures, because they are. Your brother shows you his completed fortress, a ramshackle structure that would collapse if you breathed on it too hard, but he's proud of it. He positions his wooden horse inside, declares it safe from dragons, and looks at you for approval. You tell him it's the best fortress you've ever seen. He beams. Children need so little, really. Just attention, and approval, and occasional help building stick fortresses. You hope he remembers this afternoon. You hope when he's grown, when he's struggling through his own winters, he remembers that sometimes there are good days, sometimes the sun comes out, sometimes there's enough food, sometimes things are okay. The afternoon fades into evening, the sun setting earlier than you'd like but later than it has been. Your mother starts dinner, more of the squirrel pottage, still rich, still good. Your father adds wood to the fire without calculating quite so carefully, being generous with warmth because today was generous with everything else. You all eat together, close to the fire, talking a little, smiling a little, just being together without the weight of immediate crisis. After dinner, your father makes an announcement that surprises everyone. He's going to the manor tomorrow, but not for labor service. He's going to ask the steward if there's any extra work available, paid work, the kind that might earn a few coins or some grain. It's risky. Asking for favors means putting yourself in debt, means making yourself visible to people who have power over you, but the food situation is tight enough that risk is starting to look like necessity. Your mother nods slowly. She understands. You all understand. Winter is a calculation of risks, and sometimes you have to gamble. The evening settles into the familiar routine, but lighter somehow. The good day has lifted everyone's spirits just enough that the cold and dark don't feel quite so oppressive. Your mother is teaching your brother a finger game, something about a bird and a cat, making her hands into shapes that cast shadows on the wall. He's delighted, trying to copy her, his small fingers clumsy but enthusiastic. Your father watches them, his face soft in the firelight, and for a moment he looks younger, less worn down by decades of labor and worry. You're working on the rope again, getting better at it, the fibers twisting more evenly now. Your hands have learned the rhythm, twist, add, twist, secure. It's meditative, peaceful. The fire crackles, the wind outside is gentle, almost friendly. Your brother laughs at something your mother's shadow bird does. These are the moments that matter. These are the moments you survive for, not the big dramatic moments, just small, quiet evenings where everyone is warm and fed and together. Your father starts talking about spring plans, what he'll plant in the fields, how he'll repair the plow, whether to try growing more peas this year since they're so useful. It's premature, spring is still months away, but planning is hope. Planning is believing you'll make it that far. Your mother adds her thoughts, maybe more flax for linen, maybe trading for a better spindle, small improvements, small dreams, nothing grand, just the hope of slightly better survival next year. Your brother falls asleep mid-game, just tips over sideways, exhausted from a full day of being awake and playing. Your mother catches him, settles him more comfortably, covers him with a blanket. She strokes his hair, checking his forehead for fever automatically. He's cool, he's breathing easy, he's healing. She catches you watching and smiles. He's strong, she says quietly. He'll make it. You nod, hoping she's right, choosing to believe she's right. The fire burns down slowly. Your father banks it carefully, back to rationing mode now that the generous mood of the day is fading into practical night. Your mother finishes her spinning and sets it aside. You finish your section of rope and add it to the growing coil. Everything is winding down, settling, preparing for sleep. The rushlight has burned out. There's only firelight now, dim and flickering, casting everything in orange and shadow. You climb onto the sleeping platform, finding your spot among the blankets and family. The straw is lumpy as always, but you've stopped noticing as much. You've stopped noticing a lot of things, the smell, the cold, the discomfort. Your body has adapted, your mind has adapted. This is just life now. This is normal. That's both depressing and comforting. Depressing because this shouldn't be normal. Comforting because if it's normal, you can handle it. You are handling it. Your mother settles in next to your brother, her hand resting on his back, monitoring his breathing even in sleep. Your father is last, as always, checking everything one final time before joining the pile. The door is secure, the fire is banked, the family is together, another day survived, Another small victory against winter. He climbs up, settles in, and within minutes his breathing evens out. He's exhausted. Constant physical labor in freezing conditions is exhausting. He's 40, and his body is already old, already failing, but he keeps going, because stopping isn't an option. You lie there, not quite ready to sleep yet, looking at the dim red glow of the banked fire. You're thinking about the day, the sun, the good food, your brother laughing, your mother humming, your father carving a spoon. These small things, these tiny victories. This is what you're fighting for. Not glory, not wealth, not adventure, just more days like this. Just survival, with occasional moments of joy. Just making it through to spring so you can do it all over again next year. The dog shifts, repositioning himself across everyone's feet, providing warmth and weight. You can hear other sounds in the village. Someone coughing, a door closing, the distant sound of an animal, other families, other survivors. You're all in this together, suffering the same cold, eating the same pottage, counting the same days until spring. There's solidarity in that, community in shared hardship. You're not alone, nobody's alone. Everyone is struggling together, helping where they can, enduring where they must. Your thoughts drift toward sleep. You're thinking about tomorrow, your father going to the manor, what he might find there, whether there's work, whether it's worth the risk. You're thinking about your brother, and whether his health will hold, about the food stores, and whether they'll last, about the woodpile, and whether you gathered enough, about spring, and whether you'll all make it that far. These thoughts are always there, background anxiety that never quite goes away, but tonight they're quieter. Tonight you're warm and fed, and your brother is breathing easy, and those are enough. Sleep creeps in slowly, gently, pulling you down into darkness. Your last conscious thought is gratitude, simple, uncomplicated gratitude for this day, this moment, this survival. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges. Winter isn't over, hard days are still ahead, but tonight, right now, you're okay. Your family is okay. You made it through another day. That's victory enough. The fire glows red in the darkness. The family breathes in rhythm. The dog snores. The house creaks and settles. Outside, the village sleeps. The stars are out, cold and distant and beautiful. The world is frozen and harsh and merciless. But inside this small house, there's warmth, there's family, there's life, and that's everything. That's all that matters. That's what you hold on to when winter tries to take everything away. Morning arrives with clouds, the brief gift of yesterday's sunshine already revoked. But that's fine. You knew it wouldn't last. You're not disappointed, just realistic. One sunny day in the middle of January is more than most winters give you. You take what you can get, and don't complain when it's gone. Your father is up early, preparing for his trip to the manor. He's wearing his better tunic, the one with fewer patches, trying to look respectable. Appearances matter when you're asking for favors from people who have power over you. Your mother gives him bread and a piece of the leftover squirrel for the walk. It's a 2-mile journey each way, and he'll need energy. She also wraps a cloth around his neck, extra protection against the cold, fussing over him in a way she rarely does. He tolerates it, understanding that this is how she shows worry, how she shows love. He kisses her forehead, a rare public display of affection, and heads out into the grey morning. You watch him go, a hunched figure in a worn cloak, walking toward the manor where rich people live in stone buildings with actual chimneys, and probably don't eat pottage every single day. The morning routine continues without him. You fetch water, the well path is icy, and you slip twice but don't spill, which feels like an achievement. You feed the animals, you bring in more wood. Your mother works on processing the squirrel pelt, scraping it clean, preparing it for tanning. Every part gets used, always, nothing is wasted. The pelt will eventually become a patch for someone's clothing, or a small pouch, or padding for something. It has value. Everything has value when you own almost nothing. Your brother is better today. Not well, but definitely better. He's playing actively instead of just lying by the fire. He's built an elaborate scenario where his wooden horse is rescuing a village from wolves. You don't point out that wolves are a real danger, that people actually do lose livestock to them in winter, that his game is accidentally depicting actual survival problems. You just let him play. Childhood should have some innocence, even in medieval winter, even when innocence is a luxury you can barely afford. Midday comes and goes. Your father isn't back yet, which is normal. Manor business takes time. There's waiting. There's negotiating. There's standing around in the cold while stewards and overseers discuss things among themselves. Peasants wait. That's how the system works. You don't get to demand efficiency or respect. You get what you're given when they decide to give it. So you wait at home, trying not to worry, trying not to imagine worst-case scenarios. Lunch is thin pottage, the good food from yesterday is gone, and now you're back to basics. Barley, water, salt. Your stomach protests but eats it anyway because protesting doesn't change what's available. Your mother eats half a portion, claiming she's not hungry, which is obviously a lie. She's rationing herself so there's more for you and your brother. You see it, you don't call her on it. What would you say? Don't sacrifice for us? That's what mothers do. That's what parents do. They go without so children have enough. Your father finally returns in the late afternoon, just as the light is starting to fail. You can tell immediately from his face that it went well. Not great, nothing is great in winter, but well, he got work. 3 days of labor next week, clearing ice from drainage ditches, and in exchange he'll receive a half bushel of grain and a small wheel of cheese. It's good payment, fair payment, more than you hoped for. Your mother's face floods with relief. That grain means another week of food, maybe 2 if you're careful. That cheese means fat and protein and flavor. It means margin. It means breathing room. Dinner that night has a celebratory feel despite being the same pottage you always eat. You're celebrating the grain you don't have yet, the cheese that's still at the manor, the promise of slightly less desperate circumstances next week. Your father is in good spirits, telling stories about the manor, the waste he saw, the excess, whole loaves of white bread just sitting on tables, fires so large you could roast a whole pig. It's a different world up there, a world you'll never be part of, but knowing it exists is somehow comforting. Someone somewhere is warm and well fed. The world hasn't completely frozen over. Your brother is thrilled about the cheese, even though he hasn't tasted it yet, even though it's a week away. Real cheese, he keeps saying, like it's a mythical substance. Your mother promises him the first bite when it arrives. He's already planning what he'll do with it. Eat it slowly, make it last, savor every moment. He's 7 and he's learned rationing strategies. That's medieval childhood, learning survival skills before you learn to read. The evening passes in the usual way. Fire, work, family, gradual settling towards sleep. But tonight there's an undercurrent of hope that's been missing for weeks. The prospect of extra food, the proof that effort can lead to reward, the knowledge that you're not completely powerless against winter's grinding pressure. You can work, you can trade, you can improve your situation, even marginally, even temporarily. It's not much, but it's something. Your mother is humming again while she spins, that same tuneless sound that means she's content, or at least not actively worried. Your father is working on the new fishing trap, weaving withies, planning to set it tomorrow in a different part of the stream. Your brother has fallen asleep early, worn out from a day of active play, his breathing clear and easy. You're finishing another section of rope, your hands moving automatically, your mind quiet. The fire burns low and steady, the wind outside is gentle, the house is warm enough, your family is together, healthy enough, fed enough. You're surviving. That's the goal. That's always the goal. Not thriving, just surviving, just making it through one more day, one more week, one more month until spring arrives, and the world thaws, and life becomes slightly less of a constant battle. You think about the months still ahead. February will be hard. It always is. The coldest month. The month when food stores run lowest and hope runs thin. March will be grey and wet and miserable. April will tease you with false springs and late frosts. But May will be real. May will bring warmth and green and the end of this long grinding siege. You just have to last that long. Your family just has to hold together that long. And you will. You'll make it. You'll endure because that's what people do. You'll ration and work and hope and help each other, and slowly, painfully, you'll inch your way towards spring. Some families won't make it. There are always losses in winter, always funerals in February, but you'll make it. You have to believe that. Believing it is part of how you survive. The sleeping platform calls. Your body is tired from the day's work, from the constant cold, from the endless effort of staying alive. You climb up, find your spot, burrow into the blankets. Your mother joins you, then your father. The dog jumps up last, circling 3 times before settling at your feet with a heavy sigh. Another day done, another night to survive, another morning waiting on the other side of sleep. You close your eyes and let the exhaustion pull you down. The fire glows red through your eyelids. Your family breathes around you, steady and alive. Outside, the village settles into darkness. Other families, other fires, other people also enduring, also hoping, also counting days until spring. Winter is hard, winter is brutal, winter is a test that you didn't ask for and can't avoid, but you're passing it. Day by day, hour by hour, breath by breath, you're passing it. And when spring finally comes, when the first green shoots push through the thawed earth and the birds return and the sun feels warm instead of just bright, you'll remember this. You'll remember that you survived. that your family survived, that you made it through the cold and the dark and the hunger and came out the other side. That's the story. That's the whole story, really. How to survive a medieval winter without dying. You stay close to the fire. You eat what you can. You work constantly. You help your neighbors. You ration carefully. You hope stubbornly. You love your family fiercely. You endure the cold and the dark and the grinding, relentless difficulty of it all. And you survive. Day after day after day you survive. Until winter ends and life begins again. Until the world remembers how to be green and warm. Until you can rest, finally, in sunshine instead of firelight. That's how you do it. That's how everyone does it. That's how people have always done it. For centuries, in small villages and cold houses, with not enough food and too much fear, you just keep going. You survive. And eventually, if you're lucky and careful, and the weather isn't too cruel, you see spring again. And that's enough. That has to be enough. Because it's all there is. The fire is low now, glowing soft and red like the last light of a distant sunset. Your breathing has slowed, matching the rhythm of your family around you. Your mother's steady exhale, your father's deeper breath, your brother's gentle whisper of air, the dog's rumbling snore. You're all connected in this darkness, all part of the same warmth, the same survival, the same quiet hope. That morning will come again, and you'll all still be here to see it. Outside, the village has gone completely silent. No more footsteps crunching through snow, no more doors closing, no more distant voices, just the occasional creak of frozen wood, the soft whisper of wind through bare branches, the patient settling of snow on thatch roofs. The whole world feels asleep, resting, gathering strength for another day of endurance. And you're part of that world, tucked into this small warm space, protected by walls and family, and the stubborn human refusal to surrender to the cold. Your thoughts are drifting now, slow and formless, like smoke curling up toward the roof. You're not thinking about tomorrow's tasks or next week's worries. You're just here, present, feeling the weight of the blankets, the warmth of bodies nearby, the solid platform beneath you. This moment is enough. This breath is enough. This family, this fire, this fragile shelter against the winter night, all of it is enough. Spring will come. It always comes. The earth will remember how to be soft again. Seeds will push through soil. Leaves will unfold. The sun will climb higher and stay longer and warm your face until you've forgotten what it felt like to be this cold. But that's for later. That's for some distant day when winter is just a memory, just a story you tell around a summer fire, just proof that you endured and survived and made it through. For now, there's only this warmth, darkness, breath and rest. Your eyes are closing. Your muscles are releasing their tension. The day is letting you go, gently, peacefully, into sleep. And somewhere in that sleep, you'll dream of green things, and warm things, and easy things. You'll dream of a world without cold, and when you wake, whenever that is, the fire will still be glowing, your family will still be breathing, and winter will be one day shorter, one night closer to ending. Rest now. You've earned it. You've survived another day, and that's everything. That's the whole victory. Sleep well, medieval friend. Sleep warm. Spring is coming. Just not yet. For now, there's only this gentle darkness, this quiet peace, this slow drift into dreams, and that's exactly where you need to be.